This is gonna be part 2 of my tier list of my read books. I have the second half of books I read. These are the much more recent ones. So I hope this is great and that you love it. So the first book we have in this tier list is going to be Check and Mate by Allie Hazelwood. Can you guys tell that I like reading Allie Hazelwood's books? I've read all of them except the brand new one, Problematic Summer or something, and then Bride, because I'm not big into fantasy. It's a very like fallish, Halloweenish, Octoberish book to me, so I want to save it and give it a go then. Like, I really don't want to be reading about like vampires and werewolves in July. Check and Mate is a book. It's about chess. It's Allie Hazelwood's only young adult book, I do believe. Could be wrong on that. It's about Mallory and Nolan. They're both chess players. It's just a really cute chess romance. I really enjoyed it when I read it. I'm gonna put at I Had a Nice Time. I'm actually rereading that right now. I was just on vacation and I brought 3 books. I'm a mood reader, so I didn't know what I wanted on vacation. So I wanted to give myself options. Next we have Deep End by Allie Hazelwood as well. That one I did finish on vacation. I was reading that on my Nook off the Libby app. Love that app. It was out of my comfort zone. I'm not a big fan of like college sport romances. I thought the 2 characters were cute, but the ex-girlfriend, she's just always there, always in the corner. She basically set these 2 up and then got mad when they were together, which was weird. I did have a nice time reading this. It was out of my comfort zone, very smutty, but I enjoyed. But I do try to stay away from like the college sports romances. I don't know, something about them I don't love. Now we have Animal Farm by George Orwell. I read this book so fast and I was super into it. I think it was just such a clever way of writing about a government system into a story about animals on a farm and really condensing it down and showing how harmful it can be. And Boxer, rest in peace Boxer. Napoleon, you are dirty and no one likes you. This one I'm gonna go no note. I think Animal Farm is such a great read. I really encourage anyone to read it. I think it's less than 100 pages. I read it on my Nook, so I'm not 100% sure. It can be a very quick and easy read, and I think it's a very important read to read, okay? So read it. Now we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This is my first book by her that I read. I really expected this to just like be a cute little romance, but then it did get a little bit deeper with the moms. Emma's mom drove me up the wall. Anytime she was mentioned in a chapter, I was very unhappy. I do not like that woman. Emma and her mom's dynamic. Her mom needs to grow up. I'm gonna put this at I Had a Nice Time. In my head, I just expected a romance, and I felt like this was very much a drama with some romance, which is not bad. But I didn't go into it thinking that. I am excited to read more of Abby Jimenez. Now we have On the Way to the Wedding, which is back into the Bridgerton world. This is the last book of the 8 books. This is Gregory's story, and oh my god, he's insane. I'm gonna put this at heavily enjoyed. He's insane. He's like running into a church, object this marriage, then people get him to leave, then he's going back. He's just lots of yearning in this book, lots of slow burn, lots of I'm gonna do anything to get my girl. And he got his girl, so it worked out. Back in the Bridgerton world, it's In His Kiss. This is Hyacinth's story. I thought this book was so much fun. I loved the premise of like the lost jewels, them looking for it, like this little scavenger hunt. I thought that was really something that hadn't been used in any of the Bridgerton books before. So it was really fun, new, and exciting, and I really think it captured who Hyacinth is, and I had such a great time reading this book. So this is going into heavily enjoyed. Now we have Infinity Net, which is a autobiography about the Japanese artist, please excuse my pronunciation of this, Yayoi Kusama. In my last semester of college, yeah, I have an associate's degree, I took History of Women Artists, and our final paper that we had to write was 5 pages, and I chose to do this on Yayoi Kusama, and we had to use books as our sources. So this was perfect. This autobiography was perfect. I was going through it, reading it for my paper, but then I was like, this is really cool. I'm very into her story. So then I just read the whole book and I loved it. I am gonna put it at no notes. It really speaks upon her whole entire life, how her art, she's very known for like her polka dots. She went through a lot of hallucinations as a kid. There's an excerpt in the book where she speaks about the flowers speaking to her and then her dog speaking to her, and she kind of explained that she would take these hallucinations and the things that she saw and put them into her art. And then it really tells the story of how she comes to America, comes to New York, progresses through that. And I really enjoyed hearing about her time in New York. I do believe it was the 60s, and kind of seeing the culture, how it was back then, was very intriguing to me. It was an absolute great read. If you're into art or just like female art or females at all, I think it's a good read. I would recommend it. Now we have When He Was Wicked, which is going to be Francesca's story in the Bridgerton book. This one I did enjoy, but it was a little less fun than the others just because it's a lot more sad. Like John dies, the baby dies, and Francesca and Michael are very cute, and I'm happy they do get together. But you had to get through a lot of sad to get there, which is a bit unfortunate. But I'm gonna put this one at I Had a Nice Time. It was a little more sad than the others. Okay, To Sir Philip with Love. I don't know why I'm not doing these in order. I do apologize. I'm just doing it in the list that it's on here. Sorry guys. To Sir Philip with Love, I do believe, is my favorite out of all the Bridgerton books. I love Eloise, and I just really enjoyed this book. I hear some criticism on it about how kind of Eloise gives up or kind of like doesn't act like herself. But I think with these books, it's very in the 1800s where unfortunately she couldn't just be who she wanted to be. I thought it was really cute. I really like her dynamic with Sir Philip's children, how she kind of befriends them, but is still like rough with them. She isn't mean, but she's not like gentle. I'm very excited for this season to come out on Netflix. I think they are adorable. Band Together is a book I got from the library. It looked fresh and clean and new, so I grabbed it up. It's basically about the harm of banning books, how books are being banned in a very discriminatory way. I thought it was such an insightful read because it's the perspectives of many different authors who have had their books challenged or banned, and the reasons for the banning are quite poor. I think it's a very important read. The perspectives were great to read and get a little bit more background. Obviously, I knew the reality of banning books and how that's happening right now and why that's happening right now. There's really not justified reasons to be banning the books that people want to ban. These books are not harmful. They're just other people's perspective. But just because it makes you uncomfortable does not mean it's inappropriate or bad. So I'm gonna put this at heavily enjoy. We have Last Chance Books. I also grabbed this from the library. So what happens is Madeline works at the small bookstore and then Jasper works over at the chain bookstore. Basically, Madeline's really trying to get revenge, trying to keep the small bookstore open, trying to sabotage the chain bookstore, really through sabotaging Jasper and giving him a hard time. And somehow these two fall for each other. I didn't feel the chemistry. That's just my perspective. I did not enjoy this book. I'm gonna put it at I did not enjoy it at all. I really wanted to. Madeline really didn't have any redeeming qualities. She was just always mad and always thinking everything was about her and that everything was personal. And it really wasn't, and it really isn't. Now we have Killjoy, which is a novella after A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, the trilogy. This is kind of like a small like dinner party murder mystery story. I wanted to like it. It really was not for me. I didn't enjoy it. I really don't have much to say other than that. Now we have Icebreaker. I bought this book before I knew what it was. I bought this a long time ago and I read it last year. I had picked it up about 4 times in attempts to read it, and I had to put it down because I could not get into it. I thought the dialogue was cringy, and I thought every aspect was cringy. The dialogue, I did not feel chemistry between the characters. But if you liked it, I'm really happy for you. but I did not. But with me, if I purchase a book, I cannot bring myself to DNF it. So I did get through it and I did force myself to read it, but I did not enjoy it at all. So it's going to I did not enjoy it at all. I ended up putting this book in a little free library, which then after I was told by my friends I probably should not have done that. Because as we know, or maybe you don't know, the cover, they're like look like cartoon characters. If you're like a teenager, maybe a preteen, picking up this book, you probably wouldn't be suspecting that there is just nasty smut in here. Very poorly written nasty smut in here. But there is. But I just didn't want it anymore, and I didn't have anyone who wanted it. And it wasn't staying on my bookshelf. I don't have space. So when I don't like something, it's gotta go. Now we have Good Girl, Bad Blood, which is the second book in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I actually really did like this book. I enjoyed the true crime podcast that Pip had going on. I did enjoy this book. I'm gonna put this at I had a nice time. I think I did prefer the first one. Now we have A Midwife's Apprentice. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this book, but we read it in middle school and it really stuck in my brain. So like last year, I just downloaded it on Libby as an audiobook and just listened to it. It's set in the medieval ages and it's such a interesting story because it kind of shows like realistic life in that time when you weren't royalty, and it follows a girl, and when I say girl, like she didn't know her name, she didn't know she had a name, and she strolls upon this midwife and she's like, can I work for you? I'm starving, I'm hungry, I'll work. So the midwife is like, yeah, but she's really mean to her, but she teaches her things and she calls her brat, and it really just shows like how she helps the midwife, what she learns from that, how the midwife treats her. It shows a perspective of kind of like the everyday life during that time. And it's just such an interesting story because it really shows the nastiness and kind of how uncomfortable it would be to be not royalty in those times. I'm gonna put this at I had a nice time because I really did. It is a shorter story. I think maybe nostalgia's getting me and just being fascinated with that time period. I just think a lot of people are fascinated with that time period, myself included. So I found this very enjoyable to see a different perspective than like royalty and kind of the higher classes of that time living a little bit more comfortably in society. I have Games Untold. This is by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is after the Inheritance Games trilogy. It's 3 novellas put into one book, I do believe. And I'm gonna put it at I did not enjoy it all. As I stated before, I do think The Final Gambit should have been her final book. I was not intrigued by any of these stories. I was reading it, and I really did not care. I had to force myself to finish it, which really sucked. I wanted to like it, but none of the stories felt very relevant or important to the story. That's all I have to say. If you enjoyed it, I'm really happy for you, because it's one of those things where you're getting perspectives from characters that aren't main characters in other books. But for me, I really liked the main characters from the first 3 books. So when we lost that, I was less interested. The Handmaid's Tale. Obviously, this one is going to go into no notes. This one was hard to read. A little hard to read. Not because I think it's poorly written, just because it's heavy topics. Heavy themes going on. Of like rape and like sex slavery and evil regimes taking over countries. That's not the most like lighthearted things to read about. I think it was a beautiful book, and if you've heard of this book, you've heard this a million times, that Margaret Atwood didn't put anything in this book that didn't happen before in history. So that's why it can be a little bit more disturbing. Because just because this whole premise isn't happening, every single aspect has happened, or is happening, or can happen, and that's a little horrifying. But I think it's a very beautiful book. Margaret Atwood really is a treasure, because this was amazing. I haven't read The Testaments. I do need to do that. And I haven't watched the last season of A Handmaid's Tale yet. Reading it's heavy, but watching it, I know past the first season, we're not following the book anymore, but it's so heavy to watch because you are watching these things happen. It's a really good show in my opinion. Now we have Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. This is just like a classic, so we are going to put it in no notes. It was such a fun read. Just how weird it is. Lewis Carroll, his mind is very interesting. This is my copy. The book is not this big. This was $5. You can see the impossible to get off sticker that Barnes & Noble puts on their books. It was on sale for $5, so I got it. I haven't read any of the other stories in this, and I need to. It's really like nostalgic, and I feel like it really shows how crazy people's imaginations can be, and that can be inspiring. Like, use your imagination. Think up crazy things. Another Bridgerton book we have is Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. May I say I did not like Colin in this book. I didn't find him all that fun or charming or interesting or nice. This book really stressed me out with the secrets. I read this after season 3 of Bridgerton came out, and I just like heard everyone like, oh my god, this is such a beloved couple. So I thought I would like it more than I did, but I didn't. But I still had a nice time. So I'm gonna put it there. I wasn't disappointed by it at all. Obviously, when things go from book to television or like book to movie, things are going to be different, and I was fully prepared for that. I just didn't find Colin to be what he was portrayed in the show, but that's okay. As Good as Dead, the 3rd book in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Like, wow, I was very into this book, and I was very shocked by this book. I don't want to be too spoily. Tip changed, and it was so interesting seeing that. I didn't expect the book to move in that way. So it was such an interesting read, and I really was on the edge of my seat. I'm going to put this at heavily enjoyed, but this one I think is my favorite trilogy. So we have Where the Crawdads Sing now. Before I read this, like the movie was coming out, kind of everyone was talking about it in a really good light. I wasn't that into it. Kaya, I think she was an interesting character and I did enjoy her, but I thought it was really predictable. Like the plot twist at the end where she's the one that did it. Was anyone actually shocked by that? Because I wasn't. Maybe this needs to be a reread. So I'm going to put this one at lackluster, just because I do feel like it was predictable, but I didn't dislike the book. Now we have The Secret Garden. This is a very nostalgic book for me. I would go over to my grandma's and we would watch the movie. And then I also, when I got older, I read the book. And it really takes me back. It's about this little spoiled brat, Mary. And she is just absolutely the brattiest child you can imagine at the start of this book. Her parents died, so now she's living with her uncle. Kind of at night, she would hear like screaming, like wailing and just crying. So one night, she's like walking around the house in places she shouldn't be, and she finds a little boy. That would be Master Colin. And he is ill, quite ill, and he's just very hysterical, like crying, wailing, and he really didn't try to make himself feel better. But this story really shows these two kids like getting outside and finding this garden, the secret garden. It was her aunt's garden, and after she died, her uncle did not touch it. I think it was a bit painful for him. So those two really spend a lot of time outside revamping this garden, and it's really this like escape for them. And both of their characters improve, and they're significantly less whiny and annoying and insufferable. This is a classic. I am gonna put this at no notes. Now we have The Song of Achilles. Once again, I read this super duper late. This was released in 2011. I didn't read it till last year. And everyone raved about it, and they're like, people would genuinely say like, this book was amazing, like this book crushed me. I don't think I've ever heard anything bad about this book, so I don't know why it took me so long to read it. But you will not be hearing me say anything bad about this book either. Greek mythology really captivates some people, and I think it captivates me to a certain extent. Like some people like know all the gods just like off the top of their head, like they really had a big like Greek mythology phase, and I did not. I was just like slightly intrigued by it, but I thought this book was so good. The ending is another one of those books where I was just like had to close my book and I couldn't really do anything. I just had to like think and process. So I am gonna put this at no notes. I think if you haven't read it, you should, especially if you're into Greek mythology. Like, this is such a, it's not fun. I don't know why I said fun. It's such a well-written book, and the characters are very complex, and I love how the characters are conveyed. Okay, next is Feel Your Way Through, which is a poetry book by Kelsey Ballerini. She's a country singer. With any poetry book, any poetry at all, I do not know good poetry from bad. I just don't. I can't sit here and tell you, yes, this was a great poetry book. Go buy it, go read it, you'll love it. I don't know. There were some excerpts where I was like, yeah, I really like that, and I like tab them, but this could be terrible poetry, and I'm like, I love it. So I'm gonna put this at I had a nice time, just because who am I to speak on poetry when I know nothing about poetry? Now we have Persuasion by Jane Austen. This is her last completed novel before she passed away. Rest in peace, my glorious queen. I was really into this book. I really liked it. Anne Elliot and Captain Wentworth, talk about a slow burn. Talk about a second chance romance. We got that here. It's just such an unfortunate situation that society at the time persuaded people to just not love who they wanted to love due to status and money. So it was great when we got to see these two come back together. I am putting this at heavily enjoyed. Now we have Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I really don't have much to say on this one. I'm gonna go heavily enjoyed. I think I prefer the first one better, and I prefer other books in the series better than this one, but it's Harry Potter, it's good. I really don't need to speak on that a whole lot. So the last Bridgerton book we have here is An Offer from a Gentleman. This is Benedict's story, and this one I think is a little bit controversial just because of how Benedict acts towards Sophie and kind of like asking her to be his mistress, and I see why people have a problem with that. But again, like, this is not a now book. This is not set in present times. This is set in the 1800s, where a couple like that really isn't a thing. When you're of Benedict status, that'd be quite the scandal. I liked this couple a lot. It's a Cinderella retelling. Honestly, this one is going to no notes with me. I think this book and To Sir Philip with Love are my two favorite out of all the Bridgerton books. And their season's next, so I'm very excited. Now we have another novella from Allie Hazelwood, Under One Roof. This is my favorite novella she's written, and I really wish that this was a full-length book. I've read it twice. I didn't read it twice. I read it once, and I listened to it on audiobook when I was going on like a 5-hour drive. And I just think the storyline is so cute. It's about these two characters. So Mara and Liam are the two main characters, and they were both left the house after Liam's aunt died. But Mara was friends of Liam's aunt, but they didn't know each other really. I think they've heard of each other, but they didn't know each other. So Mara gets there. She's like, hey, this is my house. And he's like, no, this is my house. But she didn't really have the money to go get a place, so she was like, I'm staying here. Liam's trying to buy her half of the house because he does not want to share it with her. And then more as we get into the story, Mara is an environmental engineer, so she's very much into the planet, the world, sustainability, not killing the earth. Liam works for big oil. So I'm sure you can see how there's some tension there. And I won't spoil everything, but I think I just really enjoyed it a lot, and I think that should be a full-length book. I'm gonna put it in heavily enjoyed. Thank you so much if you watched this video. It is so sweet. If you have anything to say about my rankings, please let me know. I am open to criticism, and I am open to rereading things if you think they did not get a good spot on this list. So do let me know, and do have a great day.